What's up, everybody, and welcome to our new C Sharp programming tutorial. And your host, Justin Rex, the coder. Well, in this tutorial, we're just gonna continue from where we left off in the previous video. I believe we covered static methods, where we just create a method and then call it inside our main method, right? In this tutorial, we're gonna talk about something. It's same topic, like same methods, right? But a bit different. So previously we created a method or methods which are members to our class, but in this case we're going to create methods which are not members to this class, which requires us to first create something or to create a way for us to access this method, since they are not members to this class. If a method is a member to a class, we just call it directly as is. And this leads us to a topic of objects, meaning that our methods are objects. It's an object to our class, right? Then we're just gonna use so we create an object of a class, then we'll be able to access any method inside that class, right? Cool. So first question or first thing to talk about is, what is a method, right? We have to get to establish a definition of a method, no, a definition of an object, I meant. Then we can go on and discuss more about it. So it's not going to be too much on theory, but more on the application. And at first, it's not going to really make sense. It's going to get complicated, especially when we talk about when we properly talk about the access modifiers. That's where things are going to get a bit complicated, but not that complicated, hopefully. But nonetheless, if you don't get it first time around, you just keep on doing and keep on doing, keep on repeating the same process until you get it right. That's how you learn. So an object is an instance of a class, right? That's an object. It is an instance of a class, and what it does, it allows you to access all attributes and methods accessible in that class. But we'll talk about something else as we move further, when we go to the deep topics of object orientation, where we have encapsulation, polymorphism, all that, right? Especially encapsulation, because even if you have this object, right, but then if you if you are dealing with encapsulation, you can't access those methods outside, or you can't access the attributes in that class that you declare as private. They are only visible within that class. Then that means that you have to create a way of accessing those attributes, right? And then that gives you the power to control how that attribute can be used. Is it read only, or it also has you also want to give writing a rights as well, or okay, we'll talk about that when we get to the next tutorial. Let me not try to jungle too much of information, because already this might be too much for some people, but then hopefully you will be able to walk through with me and understand. If you don't understand, just keep repeating and repeating and repeating. And the good thing is, I've also covered this in Java as well. So if you don't get it in this C Sharp, do try to get the explanation from my Java tutorial, and then you should be fine. The reason why is because some people are just learning Java, right? Other people are learning the C Sharp. So I have to have the explanation for C Sharp, and I have to have the explanation for Java, for just to make sure that everything is in order and is going properly. Because if someone is following my Java and then I send them to C Sharp, the syntax might be a bit crazy, right? But then we'll do that in the next tutorial. Cool. So now let's have a look at the syntax for creating an object, right? So when you create an object, remember the definition is an instance of a class, right? So you're creating an instance of a class. And the other thing that I want to also mention is that you can create as many objects as you want, right? meaning that each object that you create is gonna be assigned a value different from the other object. So basically, upon creating objects, right? If I create an object, and then that object kind of like changes the attribute in my class, I can change the attribute within that object, but then if I call the original one, I'm still gonna have the same attributes, and I will display this when we get to creating classes. When we get to object orientation, which I think I should start next week, because I think we've covered much of the basics for now. So we're gonna go through the topics of object orientation, and we do everything that we need to do, because object orientation topics are a bit too much, and I want to make sure everybody is comfortable with the basics before we get to the object orientation concepts, because it's very crucial to know the object orientation concepts. I know there's a bit of argument that is it necessary? I mean, I can do things without object orientation. There's that argument that people get to have. But once you get to understand, and once you get to be introduced or to be exposed to object orientation programming, you will understand why it's very crucial, and not many people are capable of using OOP, but it depends on how well you're determined to learn. If you're really willing to learn, and you're really willing to become an effective software developer, or whatever field that you're going to be following through, it's a good thing to get exposed to OOP, and then you will see its power. I've seen that because we started without doing OOP, and then we get to OOP, and then we did the same projects in OOP, and then I saw the power it has in terms of managing your files, and in terms of how clean your code is, and in terms of how well your code is organized, right? So you get to see all that when you get there. So declaring of creating an object, right? And then you might have seen, no, you haven't seen this before. So I think the Java guys are the ones that have seen this. Yeah, when we use the scanner class to get the input, but yeah, enough of that. When you create an object, right? You're gonna first start with the class name, and then you're gonna name your object. Mostly, you just use the lowercase of your class name, and that's it, right? But you can give it any name that you want, and then it's an assignment operator, and then you're going to start with a new keyword. Then you're going to have your class name, and then you're going to have parentheses. That's how you declare a variable. That's how you declare that's how you create your object. Cool. So say we have a class that is named Morex the Coder. How would we create an object of that class, right? And following what we have, we start with the class name. Our class name is Morex Decoder, and then as I mentioned, you can just convert everything to lowercase. In this case, if I just convert the M to lowercase, then that is different from my class name. So my compiler will know that I'm not referring to the class, but I'm just naming my object, right, using the variable naming rules that we have. Then it's an assignment operator, and then it's a new keyword, and then you have the name of your class, Morex Decoder, followed by a parenthesis, and obviously I missed something there, which is semicolon to end my statement. But since this is the slides, then we get to have a bit of a pass, right? Because the compiler is not going to be complaining, but then if it was code, then it was going to complain. And that's the whole theory of this tutorial. Let's get to code, and let's get to explore all this, right? So that it makes sense, because right now this is just you creating an object, but where am I going to use it? How am I going to use it, and what am I going to use it for, right? So you get to have all those questions as to why do we need objects, what access, or what do you have, what can you access with an object, right? So let's get to the coding and explore that mkdir, and then we're dealing with objects. So let's just name our directory object MK. Oh, it already exists. Wow. Ooh. Okay. This is Java stuff. Let's just remove everything. There we go. And then we create object.c sharp, right? That's the extension. And then we'll start with using system namespace Morex the coder. There we go. And then it's class Morex, and then static main, right? And then we have string x. There we go. So previously we defined, let's just recap what we did previously. So we have static void hello, and then I have console dot write line, and then I have hello world. Well, it's just a good day, so yeah, why not? Cool. And then after that, we just call hello, right? And then let's just compile our program just to make sure that everything is up. So object C sharp compiler, and then name it objects, right? There we go. Yeah, and then our compiler is happy, and then we're just gonna use mono object dot exe. There we go. Hello world. So what did we do? Let's go back to our code. So what we did is we set up our environment as we normally do, and then previously we discussed on creating methods which are members to this class, right? So when you create a method that is a member to a class, you use an access modifier called static, and we're going to talk about access modifiers later on. I'm still trying to figure out as to whether should I start with OOP or just go with access modifiers, because access modifiers are not that complicated, but we might even, because as discussing OOP won't limit us to learn the other stuff as well, so we might learn other stuff as well as we move further, but applying OOP. But then I'll see how we're gonna do it, the whole thing. Yeah, then you just hear from me next week as to what kind of video gets to be released. Cool. So, and that's what we did previously, right? We defined a method that is a member to a class, right? You can also do this for maybe you have a variable, right? Static name. So static string name, and then I just call this Morendwa. Akorimini Nendikovu. There we go. And then I was just picking vendor, by the way. For those who might be confused, but don't be confused. It's just code. So coding, you can code. You can even put in your name, all that. That's why I said explore, enjoy, and make coding fun and not something that is painful, right? But yeah, enough of that. Then I'm just gonna use console dot write line, and I have name. It's name. Here we go. And then let's just create our button. There we go. Let's create our button, and there we go. That's Moreno, right? So you can do you can create attributes which are members to that class or methods which are members to that class, and then you access them directly by just calling them without having to use the concept which we are discussing in this tutorial, which is an object, right? Cool. So now let's just start it off with a variable, and say we have a variable, right? Let's just say age and letter, right? So we have int. So yeah, let's just call it int, and then it's age, right? And then we say 50, and then we have char, which is just a cool. Cool, right? So if I was to just go to my main method and I call the age and the letter, what will happen? Let's try it that way. Just like I said before, don't be afraid to get errors, because you get errors, you learn, right? I mean, if you're not failing, what's that word? I forgot those words from Days in Washington. So it said that if you're not failing, if you don't fail, you're not even trying, right? So you have to try, and as you try, you are bound to fail at some point. You're not gonna get everything right first time around. So you gotta go through the process. I got through the process as well, and here I am today. So you can make it, and then you see what happens, right? So an object reference is required for non-static field, and don't be confused with field. Objects, no, but attributes, fields, one and the same thing. Mostly they use fields, right? Method or property, right? Age. So basically this is what they give me, right? I need to have an object, and then I'm gonna be able to access the method from the object, right? So right now what I just did, I could have also used the keyword public, right? But those are access modifiers. We'll talk about that in the future tutorials. But when you do the methods as well, actually I'll leave the topic for the access modifiers for later stage. But then what the access modifiers are basically is just a way of accessing information. So how well or how public or how accessible you want your methods to be accessible, right? Any class can access it within a package or that. So it gets a bit confusing if one doesn't know what a package is and all that, because some attributes refer to a package. You have to, so basically I'll properly plan everything in such a way that when we get to access modifiers, you already understand the concepts that you need to understand before understanding the access modifiers. But the access modifiers are not complicated at all. I'd say it's just a bit of small concepts you need to understand, and then you should be fine. But cool. So to access the age and the letter, right, I have to create an object for my class, and to do that I'm gonna come to the site, for class Murex. If you wanna improve in terms of typing, I'll leave the link in the description. It's just a online typing keyboard where you type for, I think it's a paragraph for 30 seconds. Yeah, it's a nice tool if you, yeah, for a program, obviously, because you always work on a computer and type, and so you can just play through that and enjoy it. It's fun, but cool. So we're creating an object for Murex class, right? So we'll start with the name of the class. The name of the class is Murex. Cool. Then you're gonna name your object. Basically, I said use more cases, right? You can use whatever name you want. I'm just gonna go with Murex. So basically, it's my class name but in lowercase, and then it's a new keyword, and then it's the name of my class, open and close parentheses. And yes, I forgot about the semicolon in my slides, but then when I'm here I have to use a semicolon. Then once I'm done, That's where I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to age, right? It's rex object name dot, and then I'll be able to access that object name dot, access that, right? And then if I was to run this now, my compiler should be happy and I should be getting my um output without any errors. If you think about a string, right? So you create a string, and then when you create a string, you assign it a value. Um, but then you also have this ability of accessing methods within a string. How do you think that's happening? So basically, if you think about it, right, a string is an object, um, because it's an instance of a class. Which class? String class. I hope that's making sense. Um, so you have a class, a string class with the methods, right? So whenever you create a string, you use what we call so you create an object of a class and assign it a value, and then if you want to apply methods to the value that you just assigned, um, you just use the string name or the name that you assign to that object of a string, and then dot, and then you will have methods, right? You want to convert it to uppercase, to lowercase, you want to capitalize it, you can do a lot. So those are the methods. So most people, they get confused as to how is this possible that now if I say dot, I have this method. So basically, when you have an object, right, an object allows you to have access to different methods. You can even create your own string class and then have it work in your own way, right? For instance, you can create a string class. So we also talk about constructors, which are gonna be, yeah, when we talk about the object oriented concepts, and then we'll explore all these. I don't know, I'm just way too excited today, but that's just why in most cases I just love coding. So whenever I start throwing code, I get to lose myself and just go all over the place and all that. But apart from that, that's basically what we did, right? That's just an object. So an object is you being able to access methods which are not members to a class, right? And then you access them in the static class. But then if I was to have a method, right? Say I was to have a method which is not a member to this class, and then I access static method, I'm not gonna be able to get that. So I'm giving you a bit of a homework in terms of yeah, in terms of that. But let's first create a method that is not a member to this class. See, there we go. See, we just want to return an int. Should it be an int? Should it? Trying to figure. Okay, we just create some in B. So I'm just gonna add two numbers, right, and return the sum. So basically, I'm just gonna return A plus B, right? And then I go to my main method, and then from there I already have an object, so I don't have to create another object. Console dot write line, and I have some, and then it's morex dot sum. Then I just want to add 50 and 50, which should be 100, and then a semicolon, and then that's what we have, and we should have 100. Cool. Now you recall that I mentioned something that you can create as many objects as you can, right? So let's do this, right? I have age, I have letter, right? That's their original state. So let's change. Actually, let's just do it after, so that way it should make sense. Console write line change age and letter, right? Let's also add an end line there. Cool. So murex dot age is equals to, so we gave it 50 right now. Let's give it 100, maybe 100, and then murex dot letter, let's give it z, right? And then we're just gonna copy this and print it out, right? Corners. So if we are to run and all that, console does not exist. Console, I forgot the dot. Yeah, I forgot the dot there. Cool. Main errors are good. There we go. So we have changed the attributes that we have, right? And then what happens if I create an object? Let's create object, all right? So it's murex2 is equals to new murex, and then I use the same output, right? I just use the same outputs. Let's see what happens if I was to run this. You see that the age and the letter are using the new. Oh, no. That is wrong, because we want object 2. There we go. To make it much nice, let's end line. There we go. And then I shouldn't have done that, but it's fine. CSC object dot C sharp, and then it's mono objects dot txe, right? And then you see that I have this, right? So what's happening is that I created a new object. When you create a new object, it comes, so if you've defined values, or if you define the attributes, those attributes will be the default one. So even though you change the object, even if you change the attributes based on the object or through an object, if you create a new object, that new object, whenever you access the attributes of that class, you will be getting the default values. I hope that makes sense. So if we go back there, right, if you check our class, we have age, and then we have letter, right? And then what we did is created our first object, and then we access the default values, and then we were like, okay, cool, so now let's change those variables, and then we change them through this, right? But then we're not, so basically by us using that object, we're not changing the values of, we're not changing those values per se, but we actually were changing those values in that instance. So that's why I said it's a bit complicated to fully understand the concept, like the object concept. But it's not that complicated. It's an instance. So for that instance, you want to change these objects or these values. For this instance, when I create a new instance, I'm creating an instance based on the original state of that class with the default values. And then if I want to change, I can change, but that will not affect the values of the other object, right? That's basically what objects are. And as I've said, some might not get it first time around, but I do hope that you're gonna be able to explore all of them. And what I realized, if you're not fully understanding them, we're gonna get to objects like fully when we get to the OP, like proper OP concepts. For now, I do hope that you guys do enjoy this video, and if you didn't manage to understand what I said, or if you didn't fully understand, try repeating the video over and over, and also do check out the Java one if you want. because the concept, like in terms of the syntax, is a bit similar, just that in terms of the output wise, while Java works a little bit different. But the syntax, the Java syntax and the C Sharp syntax are similar in some way. Closely related to each other. That's basically it. And apart from that, yeah, I do hope you guys did enjoy this video, and I shall see you guys in next week tutorial. And I think we're gonna go with the Java concept because I wanna make sure that we get to explore these objects, because most people, they fail to fully understand what an object is. Okay, they get to understand what an object is, but they fail to properly use it depending on what application they're dealing with. Um, but hopefully this will make sense, or it will be easily understood. I don't know, but I'll try my best to just keep it in such a way that you guys can also get to understand objects the way you're supposed to. But then, as I've mentioned, depending on how much effort you're putting on your side to learn these concepts, will determine how far you go. That's it from me, guys, and I shall see you guys in during next week's tutorial.